in Atlanta, just now beginning. A lot on the table going into this race. Going in, it's Christian Budd with a 30-point advantage over Tyler Head. Tyler Head missing last week's race in Kansas. Still sitting second ahead of Dylan Roberts. Dylan Roberts there in the third spot. Gabriel Mauricio sitting right now in fourth. As things continue to move on, Nick Doucette, after serving his one race suspension in Kansas last week, back on track in the 24 car here tonight. Emily Howe in sixth, ahead of Parker Alexander, Jose Solis Jr., Sean Peleg, and Brennan McGee, your top 10. That is the entire chase standings as things run at the moment. Best of the rest going into this race. Chris Champeau has been leading that charge the entire duration of the chase. Jonathan Hernandez had a good run last time out of Kansas. So did Evan Locke, to close in on that a little bit, but there's 4 races to go, and Chris Champeau's gap is still pretty extensive, over 100 points between himself and Hernandez there. Mike Rasmus, who missed races in the mid part of the season, he's back in form and looking pretty good in that 6 car. Brandon Cruz, Corey Cook, Alex Bates, they all had a little bit of flair last time out in the Midwest. Alex Bates, Matt Taylor, Philip Snipes, and Thomas Lewandowski, your top 20 here in Atlanta. Again, qualifying underway, and bear with me, I know I don't sound great under the weather, but we'll get through this race. Should be a lot of fun no matter what with what we see here this evening. Jonathan Hernandez getting on track here. One of the late stragglers in qualifying. 24 cars have already set a qualifying run, more on track as well. Parker Alexander finishing his lap. Brandon McKissick crashing on his lap. He will start into the back of the field. Sean Peleg also crashed approaching the start of his run, so he will start into the back of the field as well. Alexander going 10th fastest here. Let's pull up the ticker at the top of your screen. Those in yellow, chase drivers. And you can see immediately top 4, all chase drivers before you get to Larry Pace, the 98. Once again, back on track in a new look. We'll cover that in a second. Christian Budd leading the points, currently starting on the fringe of the top 10. Gonna have some work to do in this race. Jonathan Hernandez goes on to the board. Currently 23rd fastest at the moment for Hernandez as things currently run. See if we can grab anyone else's qualifying runs so far. Corey Steinhauser, who we were expecting to not set a lap time here, similar to what he did last time out at Kansas, rolling out super late and not actually setting an actual qualifying time. We're expecting something similar here with 25 seconds to go in qualifying. That's exactly what he does. 27 cars set qualifying lap times, 29 attempted, with Peleg and McKissick being invalidated. Ken Huff, Rory Collins, Hayden Repas, and Steve Brown electing to not attempt to qualify. Steve Brown, I believe, going to be a start and park. Kind of similar to my personal issues as far as illness goes. Steve Brown feeling under the weather. We hope he gets better soon. So expecting an early dip out for the 43 car here this evening. So it's time to grid up. But first, before we do that, let's go ahead and get into the full qualifying results. Tyler Head, top of the board by a little over 4 hundredths of a second. Dylan Roberts right there alongside the front row with him. Nick Doucette, Jose Solis Jr. in fourth. Larry Pace, Mike Rasmus, your top 6. Kyle Benson, Christian Budd, Ryan Hill, and Parker Alexander rounding out your top 10 on this starting grid. Gabriel Mauricio just a little over a 10th, almost a 10th and a half back from the pole position. In 11th, he's set in row 6 alongside his Chip Ganassi racing teammate Evan Locke. In 12th, Chris Champeau and Alex Bates. Talked about both of them being just outside the chase conversation. Chris Champeau best the rest so far. He's in 13th in very tight company. Rory Cook just behind alongside Emily Howe in row 8. Row 9, new look once again for Christina Ryan, filling in the number 30 car that was once filled by Ali Osman. Osman deputized due to conduct issues. Christina Ryan now in the AOL car for the remainder of the 2024 season. She's alongside Kirk Marble in row 9. Row 10 is Brandon McGee and Tyler Murray. Philip Snipes and Brandon Cruz make up row number 11. Then it's Jonathan Hernandez and Mo Perry in row 12. Craig Lautenschlager and Chris Bishop in row number 13. Row 14, Matt Taylor and Brandon McKissick. And you start seeing some of the drivers that either failed to set qualifying times or did not attempt to qualify for this race. We did not get to the 43 car threshold, so everyone was safe in this race. So you look at it, 34 cars. The following 4 also did not set a time in qualifying. Ken Huff, Corey Steinhauser, Hayden Repas, and Rory Collins, your 34 car field. As action begins in earnest. 2 formation laps here. For a change, no real-life events interfering, prolonging this race. Everyone getting a chance to get up to speed here in Atlanta. And want to take time, obviously some new looks here, a lot of new looks for this race, one of which looking pretty good, the 98 car of Larry Pace. Looking really good in that 98 machine alongside the 6 of Mike Rasmus on the start. Another new look there for the 38 of Kyle Benson, as well as for the 5 of Parker Alexander. And you see, there's Christina Ryan, the 30 car. Below the white line at the moment, one of the new looks, new ride once again. Fill it in for the 24. Fill it into the 39. Started the season with a 00. The North Carolina native starting a little bit of a roulette wheel with car numbers here in the Winstel season. And you see both of the Dodges there, the 9 of Brandon McGee and the 19 of Philip Snipes, also representing some new paint schemes for the weekend here in Atlanta. Another new look there also as well for the 99 of Craig Lautenschlager. For Financial Group, rolling around on track alongside the EPS 88 of Chris Bishop. Conversation once again moves to the front of the field. Tyler Head, front of the field, alongside Dylan Roberts. 30 points adrift for Tyler Head, 45 for Dylan Roberts. They both have a lot of points that they can gain here if they can stay where they're at right now compared to Christian Budd, who again starts this race from the 8th spot. Going to be a tight conversation in this field. 60 laps here in Atlanta. It's time to burn some tires, burn some fuel, and get closer to determining a champion for the Brass Pro Shops 500. It's almost showtime. 4 races to go in the Winstel Cup chase. Green flag flies, away we go. Racing in Georgia. Opening lap pretty straightforward for Tyler Head. Run the outside lane, build momentum, and let it rip. Jose Solis Jr., though, trying to crawl forward towards the race lead. He loves this type of racetrack. We've had enough time this season to see what that 29 car can do for Solis. Dylan Robertson in the 8, Doucette in the 24, and Christian Budd already into the top 5. He is on a roll right now. Tyler Head once again up near the wall. Solis started in the middle of the racetrack, drifted down, just trying to generate speed and momentum on the outside of the corner while Tyler Head keeps a hold of the wall. Will make it difficult for Solus to try to make some inroads here. Solus just has to try to drive around him, and that takes a lot out of the tires, and you see that from Solus. Already almost in trouble. So Tyler Head now with precious real estate, and that is clean air. As Solus now tries to battle with the 8 of Dylan Roberts and the 24 of Nick Doucette. And you'll notice something that we glossed over as we were going over some of the new schemes, tribute schemes being run. For those that maybe don't understand the full story for the Hendrick Motorsports camp, the 24, the 25, the 5, and the 48, this race was run right after the helicopter crash that claimed the lives of several Hendrick Motorsports staff and team members, including Rick Hendrick's son, back in 2004. This was one of the first races after that in which they paid tribute to the fallen team members, and staying true to the idea of having a throwback series. You see that on all 4 of the cars on the racetrack here this evening. Nick Doucette, the furthest forward of the bunch. Parker Alexander not far behind either. Neither is Alex Bates, who's just outside the top 10 and 13th. Alexander in 10th himself. Doucette missed a week with suspension. Has not skipped a beat though. 3rd place. Jose Solus though, 1 minor slip up, and he's dropped from 2nd to 5th. And now you have Schrödinger's catch right now at the front of the field. Dylan Roberts has had no problem catching up to Tyler Head. Now here comes, can he pass him? This is the double-edged sword going to the bottom of the racetrack. Tyler Head doing a really good job of squeezing Dylan Roberts down in 3 and 4. We've seen a lot of Atlanta photo finishes throughout the years, both on the modern configuration introduced in 2021 and on this configuration. '24 sitting there in 3rd. Lurking has been a part of several of those photo finishes over the years. Will Doucette bring another photo finish to the 24 camp here in Atlanta, and will it be a victory? A much needed one for Doucette after missing a race. Slots into 3rd. No dice so far. Tyler Head stays at the front of the field. And Dylan Roberts now realizes the anguish that he's going to be dealing with here this evening. Meanwhile, 3 cars in the inside lane trying to make some road happen here. Trying to blaze their own trail. It is the 17 of Bud, the 29 of Solus. There's a 6 of Rasmus, the 98 of Pace, all to the inside lane. Solus drifts up the racetrack in the middle of 3 and 4. But I don't think it's to any avail there. I think that's just kind of where his right front tire is at the moment. We call it different things here on ABN depending on the series that we're broadcasting here. You'll hear it most often if you're used to us doing open wheel coverage as takeoff. It's understeer, just getting tight. With the car, the front of the tires just don't want to grip. They start skating up the hill. There's no grip, there's no adhesion in that right front tire. And Jose Solus Jr. leans on that right front tire a lot. And that's a big negative here in Atlanta at a track that eats tires up almost as much as a track like Dover would. And you're seeing that right now. He struggled. He had one little bobble, and it's put him on the back foot for the entire rest of this tire run at the moment, because you don't have a chance to really to cool the tires down to get them back. And Evan Locke, almost a nightmare. You saw there on that lap before, on the back straightaway, getting really loose. Almost took out teammate Gabriel Mauricio. Really heads up driving from the 40 car, the Daytona 500 winner. And really good driving by Evan Locke, who is now in the wall, just trying to stay out of the way here at this point. You don't want to cause a caution. You don't want to be the draw the ire of the drivers here. Evan Locke's done a lot of work improving his performance throughout the season, and it's had a lot of really good results, but sometimes it is the unsung actions that show the most character growth for Evan Locke. He had a lot of issues earlier this season, but now you're seeing a driver that is able to not only be cognizant of where he's at on the racetrack, but also be aware and keep the car out of significant harm's way, and you're seeing that right now. He's starting to rebound and go after the 16 of Kirk Marble. He's lost some spots, down to 13th, but it's not the end of the world. He's able to fight again. And that's not something we saw earlier in the season when we were going through the first few races. He's done a really good job of corralling that in. So he's going to take his lumps right now on the racetrack, but he gets the fight, and they'll go 3 wide. Ryan Hill, Emily Howe on the inside of Evan Locke. Christina Ryan just behind them in the 30 car. As Evan Locke continues to slip down, he's going to have to recover a little bit here. It's very hard to do when you have a car that's now battling loose and overheating on the tires as much as what Locke has got right now. That was about as straight as I'm ever going to sound. But Evan Locke now sitting in the 16th spot, and you're going to be hemorrhaging some spots here. A pit stop for tires could not come soon enough. Unfortunately, he's got to make it to about lap 25 if he wants to keep himself really in competition here. You don't want to be one of the first ones in, and you definitely can't afford to come in this early in the contest. Seeing that again here is car in the wall out of 2 once again. This time it is Kyle Benson, the 38, who is going to be promptly passed by the new look on the 18, the Wellbutrin number 18 of Champeau, and the 5, the Kellogg's 5 of Parker Alexander. This is the eternal battle for the 10th spot at the moment as things stand. Champeau's got 9th, Alexander in 10th. Kyle Benson had it for a moment, tagged the wall, lost it. Now back on the hunt. And keep an eye once again on the 16. He seems to be at his comfort zone right now. That National Guard Ford right now sitting in the 12th spot. Really good look so far. Emily Howe chipping away as well, up to 13th. Meanwhile, up ahead, Tyler Head still doing his thing, leading the way over Dylan Roberts, who is once again peeking to the inside lane. Tires beginning to wear pretty hard at this point in the run. Dylan Roberts is trying to hope that he can just outdrive Tyler Head, and that's something that very few drivers have been able to do consistently this season. Had a good look out of 2, but the momentum out of 2 on the high line is just so strong. And the same thing out of 4. And you see the 4 moves down a lane just to pinch off the 8, just to take away any chance of momentum that Roberts has to look at. Now, the interesting thing you saw there with Dissette, the 24, is that Dissette peaked to the outside. He peaked further out in turn 3 and 4 than Tyler Head. He may be willing to set at 3 wide if the opportunity presents itself, and he can do that later in the race. I don't see him doing it this early, but I think he's definitely telegraphing it for later on. Head gets clear once again. A little bit of drafting support from Dissette, who stays half a lane higher. And then you see Larry Pace looking really good right now, the 98, that McDonald's car. Sitting in the run, yellow flag has come out, and it is a crash with, it looks like Craig Lautenschlager involved. It looks like Kyle Benson's a big piece of it. It is the 38 of Kyle Benson that's got a piece of it here early on in Atlanta. So let's take a look at what happened to draw the caution there. It looks like Kurt Marble also involved, so that's unfortunate there for him. Oh, that was just in the fringe of the top 10, but we saw they were all getting pretty loose up there, using up a lot of racetrack, and I would have to hazard a guess that maybe just drivers running a little bit more real estate than they actually had access to. And when real estate turns into cars, then usually it turns into a disaster. Let's go ahead and see if we can take a look at what's going on here for Kyle Benson. This is the group, and we saw a couple cars involved in this. Let's see if we can get a full speed shot of this. This is about as close as we're going to get here. Oh, and that's Jose Solis Jr. trying to come down the pit lane. Unsighted for Kyle Benson and Kirk Marble. And the field does overall a decent job of avoiding that. However, I don't think everyone was quite so fortunate. The 16 obviously wearing some wear off of that. May need to zoom out just a little bit to get a full picture of this. From 18th all the way up to near 12th, the 30th place for Kirk Marble. And just oh my goodness. That is Hernandez and Pele. And then there's where Matt Taylor gets involved. I believe that's where Matt Taylor and Craig Lautenslager made some contact in all of that melee. So Kirk Marble actually ended up turning into a top on that. And Jonathan Hernandez, the worst for wear, his car completely obliterated on that as Jose Solis Jr. just tried to come down pit lane. Pit stops that started early. They had started right on the cusp of lap 20. Jose Solis Jr. one of the first front runners to actually attempt it. But the cars behind him unsighted in that. Whether or not he had signaled that he was coming down pit lane or not is a different story. But at least the immediate cars behind the 38 and the 16 not sighted to it. And it turns into a 7-car pileup in the first caution of this race. So Kyle Benson on pit lane. You see that at the moment. He's not the only one. Kirk Marble also on pit lane at the moment. And you see more of the extensive damage for the one of Jonathan Hernandez at the moment. Not great for him. He was trying to get another top 10 run. He's out 4 this season. That's going to come very well shy here in Atlanta this evening. As you can see here, 33rd. Next to last, the only driver behind him is Steve Brown, who officially started in part here in Atlanta. So that leaves at the front of the field Rory Collins and Hayden Rebus, 2 cars that very curiously have stayed out here. I'm assuming you'd have to assume that they would come down pit lane anyway, because they have not made a pit stop yet in this race. And if everyone else was looking at a pit stop early, you would have to imagine that they would have to come in this time, and I believe that is going to be the case. Rory Collins will get his 5 points for leading a lap. You see the 29 of Jose Solis Jr. He will get the wave around. He is ahead of all the lead lap cars. He was coming down pit lane when the caution came out. He was able to complete his pit stop service, which he did. And now he will rejoin at the very tail end of the field as the wave around car. And they're going to go ahead and let him go now, because I believe we are approaching 1 to green. So that'll re-crown Tyler Head as the lead of the race over Dylan Roberts, Larry Pace, and Nick Doucette. We will all trade positions here. And just kind of a reminder for those following the ticker at the top of the screen, those in yellow are Chase for the Winstel Cup contenders. There's 10 of them in the field, a decent chunk of them in and around the top 10 right now on the racetrack, including your current race leader and pole sitter, Tyler Head, and Dylan Roberts, who right now sits 2nd and 3rd in the championship standings. Lights out on the pace car, which means we're going green at the end of lap 23 to start lap 24. With 37 laps to go and at least 1 more pit stop in this race. Green flag flies once again, away we go. Tyler Head spun his wheels a little bit. And here we go. Dylan Roberts pouncing on the opportunity to try to get around for the race lead. He knows time is precious, but so do those around him. Doucette, Rasmus, Mauricio, and Pace. And wow, Tyler Head just sent it right through turns 3 and 4 like it was butter. And drives away, and that's because caution is right back out. And Dylan Roberts immediately just let off the gas, and it is for Ken Huff, 31. New look, singular wireless 31 for Ken Huff. So let's go ahead and take a look here. 23rd place, still not a bad run. He's going to end up dropping to 29th here as it updates. But still up from where he started this race. Let's see what happened to the 31 of Ken Huff. So this is with Corey Steinhauser, who's dealing with tonsillitis. So this is a lot of people's flu game here tonight. Let's see what happens here. Oh, Steinhauser just gets loose and tags him and spins him around. Kirk Marble avoids it. Not a lot of heavy contact there for the 31 of Ken Huff, so gets away fairly lucky compared to what we saw last caution. But immediate yellow comes right back out. Spares Sean Peleg, who now gets to come down for more repair work. Overall, that could have been way, way worse. So there he is, live pictures once again. He'll come down pit lane, just kind of buff out the scratch marks from tagging the turn 2 wall. So a lot of drivers go, though, coming back down pit lane. Top off the fuel. If you haven't already, grab tires, because you're going to need them. Majority of the field, though, staying out here. Track position is critical. We've seen that. Everyone gravitating towards the upper 2 lanes of the racetrack, unless you're at the front of the field, in which case every lane's a play if you have that clean air for long enough and if you can protect that right front tire long enough. Not very often we get back-to-back cautions like this in Winstel, so I'm going to take a second to not speak because my throat is screaming in pain. For everyone tuning in, we appreciate you spending your time here on MBNA Esports 1 Sunday here in Atlanta for the Winstel Cup Series. Sean Peleg gets the free pass. We're back here with 1 degree on the commentary. We're not going to go anywhere for the actual picture, but I'll be back from commentary in time for 1 degree so we can run down and begin the second restart. Lights are out on the pace car, which means we are 1 lap away from going green once again to start lap 29. 32 laps to go here for the Bass Pro Shops 500. Again, for everyone tuning in, we greatly appreciate you spending your Sunday evening with us here. A very wild weekend all together. We're glad you're with us here on Carmen, Sienna. Under the weather. Battling a shopping list of ailments right now, but getting through this here. 2 cautions in this race. 1, a multi-car crash that has collected several cars, including chase contender Sean Peleg. And then the second caution, most recently, for Ken Huff. Almost showtime once again here in Atlanta. Tyler Head at the lead of the field. Green flag flies and away we go. Way better restart that time to defend himself from Dylan Roberts, although he seemed to have it pretty well covered last restart. Now he gets to do it again with interest. Three wide there behind Champeau, Hill, and Ryan. Battling for the top 10 spot. Christina Ryan ends up the benefactor of that. Meanwhile, Gabriel Mauricio trying to crawl his way into the top 3. Right now dealing with Mike Rasmussen, the 6, and the 24 in Deset. Larry Pace sitting right now in the 6th position with Christian Budd right now in 7th. A little bit further back, you saw Parker Alexander, the 5 car, sitting 8th, Emily Howe 9th, Christina Ryan top 10. All 3 of those cars moving forward inch by inch. You see Larry Pace driving all the way to the white line, finding that clean air and making most of it. But he opened the door for Christian Budd to find his way around because he prefers that outside lane, the 17 car does, especially in that traffic. And there's a lot of it, 3 wide. And Larry Pace really driving through the corner here, doing a really good job of really frustrating not only Mauricio in the middle, who can't really drive through the corner the way he wants to, but Christian Budd, because he's got nowhere to go. Oh, if they make this 4 wide, they're going to make it 4 wide. And Rasmus has got to drive for his life on the exit. He does, but that was wild. Usually 4 into 1 doesn't go. It did that time. And now everyone's thinning out a little bit here. Larry Pace fighting the losing fight at the moment as everyone begins migrating back towards the top lane of the racetrack. Back to the safe place, the wall. The outer rim. This track, very comparable to a Galaxy at this point. The outer rim, safe, hospitable. Where most of the creativity lies. The white line on the inside of the racetrack, the nucleus of the circuit. Alluring. Beautiful if you can make it work, but very dangerous. You're seeing that with Larry Pace trying his best to make it work. To no avail. But comparing who he's dealing with right now, he's in the right conversation to be in. As Christian Budd gets right to the white line, him and Mike Rasmus, both the Roush cars, drove deep through 3 and 4, and it didn't work out for Christian Budd the way it did for Rasmus, as Gabriel Mauricio will be a thorn in the points leader side. As he should. Chase contender right there. He needs to gain on if anybody, he needs to get on the 17, because he's the current points leader. We'll go ahead and we'll pull up the live points here as things currently stand. Right now, Tyler Head takes over the points lead as things run. 10 points becomes the gap back in favor of the defending champion, Christian Budd, and that's what it means. Just 1st to 6th, a swing of 40 points in favor of Tyler Head. Dylan Roberts also closes in a little bit because he's closing in on Christian Budd, but he's not closing in on Tyler Head, who's ahead of him right now. That's why it's so important for Dylan Roberts to try to get ahead of that 4 car at the front of the field, because right now Tyler Head takes over the lead of the championship. Dylan Roberts is still net loss on that conversation. He was 15 points back. He would end up being 35 points back on Head as things run right now. And Nick Deset obviously in a really hard spot with Gabriel Mauricio, level of points there in 4th right now. They run 3rd and 4th on the racetrack at the moment. And you're seeing every position that Christian Budd gains, the gap goes down by 5. He got around the 6 of Mike Rasmussen. He's now down to 5 points. So it's very, very, very important for them right now, as cars all over the racetrack right now. Looks like a lot of cars coming down pit lane. It is. Mike Rasmussen, one of them, coming down pit lane. So drivers coming to make pit stops early. 23 to go. Obviously, we'll look at the next 5 here. We looked at the top 5 there. That's where Parker Alexander currently sits. Emily Howe now more than a race out as things run right now. Jose Solis Jr., who had to take the wave around, has not improved. Now sitting 28th and struggling. Brendan McGee in 16th, and Sean Paleg now a race and a half behind. With 3 races to go after this. Not a good look for the 48 car. Paleg, one of those taken out early in this race. You see him on the inside of the racetrack there, the 48 car. Extensively wounded here tonight. And here comes Roberts once again at the front. Coming to 21 laps to go. And Dissette's rubbing his hands together, because if these two have an incident, then he is in the home clear. And he's going to gain some massive points on all 3 of the leading drivers in the championship fight. But they know pit stops are lingering. Can Dylan Roberts find a way around, either on track or via the pit stops? We're going to find out here on ABN Esports 1, the Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500. Here on ABN Esports 1, the Winstel Cup Series, chase for the Winstel Cup. Rolling from now all the way through Homestead in October. One of Jonathan Hernandez back out on track. Watching the leaders blaze by. Almost 3 wide. Dissette wants 2nd place. He's trying to get around Dylan Roberts. This will not help Roberts' conversation for the title fight. Would have to hazard a really strong guess that Dylan Roberts is not going to be happy about that one, and will not be happy about the fact he's going to have to make up all this extra ground if it doesn't turn back around in Phoenix next week. Because the next 3 races are not fun. Phoenix, Darlington, and Miami. They will be very difficult. They're going to be fun for the drivers. The drivers, I think, universally love what that calendar looks like, but it will not be easy. So Dylan Roberts needs to find a way to get back around and avoid hemorrhaging more of these spots here, because now he's losing a spot to Mike Rasmus. And Mike Rasmus just drove right by him on the inside lane. Mike Rasmus looking really good because he came out, he's on fresh tires to begin with, but this is the undercut for Mike Rasmus. He was in this group. Keep an eye on that 6 car of Rasmus, getting a lap back. I believe this is his main lap that he's getting back here. Actually, it is. So now he's back on the lead lap as the leaders still have to make a pit stop here. And this is the 4 and the 8 and the 40 all coming down pit lane. They got to get it low down, and they all do. So that gives the race lead to Nick Dissette, who gets those extra 5 bonus points for leading a lap. And Brandon McKissick now sitting 2nd place right now. Christina Ryan in 3rd. And you're going to see the Tigger blink back and forth as drivers come down pit lane in mass. Christina Ryan up to 3rd place at the moment as things currently run. Then it's Emily Howe and Alex Bates. Here comes Dissette and McKissick and Ryan. Emily Howe, though, stays out. Very crucial to get those 5 bonus points for leading a lap. She does. So Emily Howe out front, ahead Alex Bates and Craig Lautenslager, their top 3. This would be a really bad time to have a caution if you were someone like Tyler Head or Dylan Roberts. Christian Budd, a heavy undercut to get himself ahead of the 4 and the 8. But now he's going to hold on to those tires extra long as Emily Howe comes in for her final stop. Alex Bates, now the race leader, getting passed by Philip Snipes, who's getting his lap back in the conversation. Ryan Hill and Kyle Benson now top 3. It should cycle out, the way I'm reading this correctly, it should be Mike Rasmus in the lead of the race. And then it's Jose Solis and then Larry Pace, the top 3 of those that have made pit stops so far. But there's so much that can shuffle here with coming to 14 laps to go. Here comes Alex Bates down pit lane. Same with Ryan Hill, Kyle Benson, Matt Taylor, Mo Perry. Now they stay out. And they'll be among the last ones to come and make their pit stops. Brandon Cruz, the 4th of the last holdouts. Benson comes in, Matt Taylor stays out, Perry comes in, Brandon Cruz stays out. So now 2 cars left out on track in very familiar territory for Matt Taylor, who is used to staying out longer and hoping for the best yellow in the world. It worked for him once this season, but it hasn't worked more than once. So it's been a little bit of a struggle here. Matt Taylor in the tie number 32 has to be careful, because here comes McGee and Alex Bates, who are both on fresher tires here to drive around, and so will Christina Ryan, who's in that 38 AOL car just down the road. So this is Mike Rasmus, 4th place on racetrack at the moment, will be the race leader once all the pit stops make their way through. Rasmus, Larry Pace, and Christian Budd, your top 3 right now, as Budd gets around Jose Solis Jr. But importantly, Tyler Head not far away, and neither is Dylan Robertson, that 8 car in pursuit as well. Side by side out of turn 2 is Dessette and Mauricio, the Brazilian, in that silver bullet number 40, fighting to stay ahead of the 24. 24 a little bit fresher tires. Almost loses it there at 3 and 4, hugging that white line. Is going to give Mauricio a little reprieve with 11 laps to go. And again, pit stops must happen if you're the 32 or the 89. You cannot hold out continuously here. At this point, it's just not realistic or feasible for either of them to go 35 odd laps without making a pit stop here, which works out in Mike Rasmussen's favor. However, Larry Pace is closing in little by little. These are 2 drivers looking for race wins. Larry Pace looking for his very first. I believe the same goes for Mike Rasmus, the number 6 machine. And they both have to somehow defy Christian Budd, who, as it sits right now, if things continue to look the way they are with less than 10 to go, coming to 8 to go, could be saving himself a lot of headache going into Phoenix next week, because he should be able to extend his championship lead if things hold on as they are. However, don't hold your breath on it. And remember, 2 cars have yet to come down pit lane at this point. The 32 of Matt Taylor, the 89 of Hayden Repas. This is the battle for what could be the race lead once they come down pit lane. There is the 98 of Larry Pace. He's going to drive right around the 6 of Rasmus, but unfortunately that means that Christian Budd can do the exact same thing. Larry Pace now in control as Hayden Repas stays out. Again, the only thing he can do here, he has to try to hope and pray that he can get that free caution, but I think he's coming in this time. I think that the wishing well has dried up there for the 89, and it is a route down pit lane for the 89 to end this race. Laps led, though, just not enough for it to get to lap 60. 7 laps to go. Larry Pace trying to hold off Christian Budd for his first ever Winstel Cup Series win. He's had a lot of near misses. He's been collided into more times than I think he'd like to count, but it would all be worth it if he could pull one of these out. Sean Paley just running laps bottom of the racetrack, just trying to stay out of the way. The sensible thing to do for him. At this point, Larry Pace looking at 6 laps to go. And don't look now, but here comes the 4 car, Tyler Head, looking to spoil the party, and he's got friends. A lot of friends. Christian Budd has got a mirror full of the 4 of Tyler Head. There's the 8, another deep red car of Dylan Roberts right there in the tow as well. 4 cars under a blanket, coming to 5 laps to go. Larry Pace has got an onslaught to fend off here. 2 cautions, both of them in the first half of this race. It's been green flag since. Larry Pace hoping it stays that way right now. Let the 17, let the 4 battle it out. Christian Budd taking the preferred lane away from Tyler Head. But Tyler Head has freshest tires of the bunch. And Christian Budd can't really fight him on it. Just drove it right through 3 and 4. He got around for second place. And now he's got to try to chase down the 98 of Pace while still being harassed by Christian Budd, who's not going to let it go sitting down. Descent's in the mix as well. This is the top 5 all in the conversation. I believe that's the 37 of Brandon McKissick. It is in 6th place, up 22 spots already in this race. He is not far away from this top 5 conversation, just a second out. And ahead of Gabriel Mauricio as Mike Rasmus drops out of the equation entirely, now down to 8th. But should be able to hold on ahead of Chris Champeau and Emily Howe, who sit 9th and 10th at the moment. And this is where the Joss theme plays at a crescendo for Larry Pace. He's close, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to hold on to this race win. Tyler Head burning up those Goodyear Eagles to try to get to the front of the field. It is a very close championship fight between 3 drivers, and they're all in this top 5. And Tyler Head knows that he cannot have a down race, and a down race for him is a race where he is not at the front. He used his drop when he took 0 points last week. There are no more mulligans for the 4 car, and it is a very close fight. 2 by 2, and look at Nick Doucette. He was thinking about sending the 3 wide on the outside earlier. Now he's looking at the white line as his best friend right now. Coming to the white flag, 1 lap to go in Atlanta. And this is where it is pay dirt time. Larry Pace, Tyler Head, Nick Doucette, 3 wide out of 2. If you're Dylan Roberts, you want Larry Pace, that's exactly where he's going with it. We're going to get a classic Atlanta finish. Roberts peeks to the outside. Nothing giving. He's got to help out the 98 if he's going to try to help prevent the 4 from winning. They're going to go 3 wide at the line. Larry Pace grabs the race win. Tyler Head gets 2nd place. And I don't know if that was Dylan Roberts or Nick Doucette that got 3rd at the line. But it's Larry Pace. For the first time in his Winstel Cup career, Larry Pace is a Winstel Cup winner. A little help from Dylan Roberts. A lot of gumption to hold off the defending series champion. That'll give him a love bump out of 4. Congratulatory from Tyler Head. The series and its drivers rallies around drivers that have worked really hard, like Larry Pace, and he will burn it down. In an incredible fashion, Larry Pace, your winning moment here in the Winstel Cup Series. New look, new vibe, and a new race winner in the Winstel Cup Series, Larry Pace. Running those Goodyear Eagles down to the courts. Podium interviews up shortly. We'll talk to our podium finishers here. An absolutely outstanding drive and an outstanding finish. Congratulations, Larry Pace. An absolutely thrilling turn of events in the Winstel Cup Series. A race winner tonight after an absolutely wild turn of events. Let's go ahead while we wait for our podium finishers to waltz their way into the interview waiting room. Let's go ahead and go over those results here. Photo finish for Larry Pace ahead of Tyler Head. One of those classic Atlanta finishes. We got it 3 wide across the line. Nick Doucette ends up in 4th place, getting turned at the line. I believe that was by Brandon McKissick, the 37, who ends up in 5th. So Dylan Roberts minimizing the damage as the championship fight gets closer and closer and closer. We'll talk about that at the very end of the broadcast. Christian Budd 6th, Gabriel Mauricio in 7th, Mike Rasmus 8th, then Emily Howe and Parker Alexander round out your top 10 here in Atlanta. Bear with me, catching my breath. Still dealing with COVID. Christina Ryan 11th, Chris Champeau 12th. Really good run for both of them. Champeau just losing out there at the end. Older tires out of the top 10 for the 18. Brennan McGee ahead of Ryan Hill, 13th and 14th, your top 15. Jose Solis Jr. from 28th at one point to 15th. Not a bad recovery. Just got to be frustrating for him. Strategy call right at the worst possible time. And never fully recovered. Craig Lautenschlager, Kyle Benson, teammates there 16th and 17th ahead of Evan Locke, Mo Perry, Alex Bates, your top 20. You're almost done hearing my sore voice, I promise. Matt Taylor, Corey Cook, Philip Snipes, top 23, Brandon Cruz, 24th. Tyler Murray, 25th, ahead of Chris Bishop, Corey Steinhauser, Ken Huff, who ends up last car on lead lap. 89 to Hayden Repas. Stayed out as long as he could. Couldn't. Ended up a lap down here ahead of Sean Palek, who was 4 laps down. Just trying to hope for a miracle at that point. His championship ambitions pretty well shot with 3 races to go. Phoenix, Darlington, and Homestead coming up next. The last 4 cars here, you see the retirements. Only 3 of them. Kirk Marble, the last finisher, ahead of Jonathan Hernandez, Rory Collins, and Steve Brown, who started and parked after not feeling well, having a personal illness of his own. Several flu games in effect here tonight in Atlanta, in a fantastic Atlanta finish here to boot. At this point, we will talk to our podium finishers. Let's start with 3rd place, Dylan Roberts, who had a wild look at the race here. Damage limitation, keeping this championship close going into Phoenix. Dylan, congratulations on the 3rd place. Walk us through that battle, because that looked like a lot of fun, especially at the end there as we shaped up for that classic Atlanta finish. Obviously, for you, the whole objective in this race was try to deal with the 4, try to deal with the 17, while also protecting your tires at a track that just eats them up. And by the way, all the spoilers that were in the group, not only for Larry Pace, who ended up winning the race, and for you, help minimize that damage going into Phoenix next week. But you look at drivers like Mike Rasmus, who had a really good undercut call there earlier in the run, and everyone had to chase him down. Brandon McKissick got in the mix at the very end. You look at different drivers that stayed out longer, like Hayden Repas and Matt Taylor, who, if a caution came out, they were going to be in the mix. What was the energy like for you in that situation, trying to cover all of that at the same time, because you were in the dying stages of this chase for the Winstel Cup, and it is a 3-horse race pretty firmly at this point between you, Christian Budd, and Tyler Head. Who were you tracking the most in that, trying to keep tabs on it, and did you feel confident that you were in that right era and that you had taken care of your stuff to be in that mix at the end?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a tough track to race at, and knowing that it's not just going to be the chase contenders that have pace throughout, whether it be short runs, long runs. We're going to have people there that aren't racing with the same agenda. They're here for the wins. We're here for, maybe we're getting down to the nitty gritty. It's starting to, like you said, we've kind of separated up top in the top 3. So it becomes more of a, I'm racing these 2. Everybody else is hoping for us to come into a lot of problems to kind of close that gap to us, and we're trying to beat each other while not beating ourselves. And at a track like this, with a setup like this, a lot of horsepower, no grip, it's a really tough balancing act. But I feel like from my side, all I could do was drive to my ability, and I'm really, really confident at this track. I'm really, really confident in this car. I found out in practice for my long runs that I could push pretty hard. Provided I wasn't sliding the tires the entire corner, I could keep my pace pretty well, and I wasn't really getting that final cliff until I would already be thinking about pitting. So I kind of committed pretty early to pushing myself pretty hard. I think I pushed Tyler to kill his tires there, but it's just so hard to pass here. You know, the run you get off the high side, it makes it really hard without making a hero move down low. But that gets hard when you don't have a right front tire left. So it's just trying to stay with Tyler, trying to stay ahead of Bud with the track position. Those guys are fast. You know, Tyler gets the bonus points for leading laps. I think most laps as well. So he gets that buffer there. So for my side, I mean, all I can do is finish third. I don't think there was anything else in it. The way that shook out, that was just an incredible brawl to the end. And you know, I would have liked to have stuck it a little bit up there 3 wide, but you just don't have the grip. You know, Larry, he's not here for the championship. He's not in a position to lift. I wouldn't expect him to. It's not. You know, I'm the one who's obligated to lift there. I'm the one being cheeky, and it just wasn't going to stick. So, you know, that's racing. You survive, you keep the points close, you go to next week.
And we speak of going into next week, 3 races to go in the chase for the Winstel Cup for 2024. And it is a gauntlet of racetracks here. Obviously, we already started the gauntlet here in Atlanta. We go to Phoenix next week, and I believe it's traditional Phoenix with the grass dog leg and not like the dog leg where everyone cuts it nowadays. So it's going to be even harder to pass, even more a tire management game. What does it look like for you going into that, knowing that the pressure is on, and that this is the tightest margin the championship's seen in quite some time, with 3 drivers that are equally favorites here? There's a very thin margin between all 3 of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really comfortable with those tracks. I mean, Phoenix, that old Phoenix there, it's a personal favorite of mine. I know it wasn't the most exciting to watch in everybody's opinion, but I always loved driving it. I felt pretty confident racing there. So from my side, I know that I can go in there and perform. But I mean, Tyler, Bud, and I mean, everybody else looking in, they're going to have that pace too. You can't just rest on your laurels. You can't just sit back and hope it's going to get handed to you, because it's competitive. We're racing hard. We're driving as hard as we can up here, and hopefully it's a good show, and whoever shakes out the best these next 3 races, you know, hopefully they win it.
Obviously, a fantastic job, P3 here, and we have slow motion shots of leading to that final lap on the screen. Does anyone to shout and say thank you to? The floor is yours. Dylan, congratulations on a phenomenal drive tonight, keeping that championship fight close as ever in that number 8 Budweiser machine.
Yeah, just a huge shout out to, you know, once again, everybody at Winstel, everybody that I fought with tonight. That was insane. I mean, we were all going for it, and we didn't overstep once. It was really, really hard fought. Huge shout out to you. I've been hearing you're a little under the weather. Fantastic to, you know, come out here, put the broadcast on, and a great one at that. Just, you know, shout out to everybody that makes this happen every week.
A fantastic drive for Dylan Roberts. We'll see him again, once again, championship frontrunner in Phoenix in 7 days. Dylan, enjoy the podium. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
We'll move on. Second place. Not very often we talk to him outside of the race winning position here, but Tyler had a very close run, a very fantastic Atlanta finish here. Walk us through your feelings. Walk us through sort of where you're at on this. A fantastic drive. Very exciting. And once again, the championship close as ever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously, you know, simultaneously elated to have been part of such a, you know, a fantastic finish at a place that's known for them, and a little bit dejected that I didn't come out on the right side of it by a couple of feet. But, you know, my expectations coming into tonight were a little bit muted just based on how practice had been going and everything. And I think a lot of the people that I had been racing leading up to that last stint had more pace than I did, and I just had the benefit of track position. But I felt like I had executed really well, and it was there for the taking. But Larry obviously, you know, did everything that he needed to do, and, you know, I was swatting flies trying to make it happen with my little bit of a tire advantage there. And he was putting his car right where he needed to, and he had done a really great job of extending out his stint and keeping the pace in his car to be able to get that win. And I believe that's his first win in Winstel, period, which is surprising considering the caliber of driver that he is. He's always pretty quick, and I have a lot of fun racing him. So I've been looking back at the last few laps and wondering, hey, could I have set up one thing differently, or, you know, could I have executed or gotten through a corner a little bit better? But ultimately, I think I just need to tip my cap and say that it was Larry's night, and he drove a flawless race.
We talk about the battle here, and obviously Larry Pace, and you are correct. It is his first ever win in the Winstel Cup Series. So he was fighting for a lot there. He had both hands firmly on it there, and he was holding on for dear life. For you, the conversation is a little bit different than what it was for Christian Budd and for Dylan Roberts, because you used your drop round last week. You weren't there for last week's race. Took the 0, took the drop round. So there's not really any leeway for you here. This was sort of the result that you needed to get. You talk about practice not really being where you wanted the car to be. How do you, for those that maybe don't follow this super awful well in terms of like how a fixed setup series works, how hard is it to adjust when you unload and the car just isn't where you want it to be? How do you adjust that point? And obviously, we saw you chase down the 98 at the end and an amazing finish all the way around. Congratulations to everyone involved. How do you get to that point where you can get that car to at least something where you can mold it and shape it and be in that conversation?
I think for me, it's about, getting some more laps to get comfortable with, a fixed setup league, as you're alluding to there. It may not go through the corner exactly the way that you prefer a car to. So you kind of have to be a little bit adaptable. And if it's not immediately where you would like it to be, you need to get comfortable with where it is. And then I spent some time right as practice was wrapping up studying what other people were doing and where they were placing their cars and where they were accelerating. So I think I learned a couple things that really helped me out, in particular in qualifying, and then obviously in the race from that. And really, I think I was still down on speed in the race itself, but I had the track position and focused on making it so if somebody was going to get around me, they were going to have to put together a perfect set of corners, and I wasn't going to make a mistake that gave it to them, right? So that's what it's all about, week in and week out. If it's in your wheelhouse, capitalize, and if it's not in your wheelhouse, then get as up to speed as you can and execute to the best of your ability, especially with these short races. That's what makes it so tough because, Larry, obviously, he executes a little bit of a different strategy tonight and executes it to perfection and leapfrogs a bunch of us. And on any given night, somebody like him or Rasimus or these other championship contenders like Dylan Roberts or Christian Budd, they're capable of putting together that kind of a night along with, a dozen or so other people in these races. So it's not easy to succeed. And so when you have that success, you got to enjoy it. And I certainly hope that Larry's soaking it all in right now and pleased with himself.
I think he's going to be very happy with his performance here. When you talk about wheelhouses, Phoenix coming up next, old Phoenix, traditional Phoenix, where there's grass on the dog leg and you can't just run all the way to the pit wall. Walk us through that race. How are you feeling going into that, just sort of based off of what you've had with your experience here? Is that a track where you feel like you can keep putting together these type of results and really just, at this point, chip away? Because it's that close in the championship fight. You just have to chip away these next 3 races.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, in a vacuum, I wouldn't ordinarily feel that great about a Phoenix, whether it's the old version or the new version compared to other style of tracks. But this year, for whatever reason, the shorter tracks have been very kind to me. I just guess this car and then setup philosophy combination has kind of fallen a little bit more into my wheelhouse than those style of tracks typically do. So I definitely see Phoenix and Darlington. Darlington obviously being a place where you got to minimize mistakes. I see those as big opportunities for me, but it's going to be decided on the track, and so I'm really looking forward to racing everybody these next few weeks.
A fantastic job, a fantastic photo finish here in Atlanta, Tyler. Before we let you go and let you get ready for the week in Phoenix up ahead, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congratulations on a phenomenal race here tonight. And that number 4 car looked fantastic all night long.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just shout out everybody that chooses to race with us, everybody that puts on these races. Shout out in particular Larry Pace. Congratulations on finally getting that win. I know you've been knocking on that door for a while, and definitely a shout out to you. I'll echo what Dylan said. I know that you're pushing through a bit of under the weather feeling, so I really appreciate you doing it, and I'm glad that we made it worth your while.
It was a lot of fun here tonight. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Tyler. Congratulations on the P2, and hopefully we get to talk to you again with even more success in Phoenix in 7 days. Congrats.
Thank you.
That was Tyler Head. Race winner, though, is Larry Pace for the first time In his Winstel Cup career, Larry Pace is a Winstel Cup winner, and it feels like a long time coming. So many near misses, so many right strategy calls, and an elite caution rips it away. Larry Pace, you're finally a Winstel Cup winner. New look, new vibe, and a victory lane trip for the 98 car. How are you feeling? Obviously, with just not only winning the race, but winning a race in a 3-wide photo finish at the end.
Oh, it feels great. Like you said, it feels like it's been a long time coming. I've been in position to cap some of these off occasionally, but man, these races are very hard to win. There's a lot of really good drivers in this field, and every week they're on their game. Like, very rarely do you catch anybody sleeping in this series. So to actually win one finally, it feels fantastic. And I didn't know if we were 2 wide, 3 wide. I was tunnel vision, just making sure I got everything I could on the top at the end there.
Walk us through that, because we've seen your strategy calls before. It's always been undercut related mostly for you. You come in early, you get the stretch of tires, you get that clean air, which I think is super important, and it looked like it was very important here with everyone preferring that outside lane. Was that to sort of stick to your guns and stick to what worked for you? And if so, what was sort of how quickly were you able to determine that in the race here, because it was pretty hectic early on?
Yeah, where we were going to have to split the race into 2 green flag stops. The mindset was pit around lap 20, but there's a lot of undercutting, like you mentioned, and these guys put a lot of prep into running these races, hence why they're so hard to beat. Like, these guys are just on it. They've got things scienced out. So I just copied Christian Bud's homework tonight on that last green flag stop. As soon as he said he's pitting, I was on his outside. I was going in with him. So I had to get aggressive and pit on his outside and kind of copy off his homework. But I kind of had an idea that Christian would be a good one to base what I'm doing off of, and luckily was able to fire off pretty quick, get through traffic decent, and that gave me enough of a buffer to hold off Tyler.
Walk us through that, because obviously the undercut, it works out. You get the trap position, you're able to get around Mike Rasmus pretty easily, but the entire top 6 converges on you at the same time. What's that feeling in your head of, oh goodness, I've been in this situation before, this is deja vu of the worst kind, and then still be able to drive through it? What was the feeling like that when you see the massive cars, the massive contenders converging on you in knowing that you still have 6-7 laps to go?
Yeah, it wasn't a good feeling, for sure. As we were driving through the field, I know I'd pit about 2 laps after Mike. And as I caught him and blew by him, I kind of looked at the relative to see who had pit after me, Christian. And I saw it was Tyler and them. And I was like, okay, they're going to be coming pretty hard here at the end. And yeah, I mean, I just hoped that, it went long enough that the tire disadvantage kind of leveled out. As you run these cars down near the end of the fuel cell, the tire advantages kind of even out, once tire heats get up to like their maximum. So that was the hope. I still was like out of control those 5 laps, the last 2 laps especially. I was swatting flies when I went wide open and just praying I didn't overcorrect and get a piece of the wall down the straightaway or slide down into Tyler. But yeah, it wasn't a good feeling. I definitely knew I was going to have to play defense, but Atlanta has a very, very hard to pass top line. Like, if you hit your line up there, you don't rush the throttle and get too sideways. You can usually hold guys off a little bit, but I mean, I couldn't. Another corner, I don't think I win that race for sure.
You did a fantastic job, and you finally break through for your first win in the Winstel Cup Series, and an emphatic race to do it at with a photo finish here in Atlanta. Before we let you go and let you fully celebrate and going into the next week ahead, if there's anyone you want to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Again, a phenomenal drive. I know we've been following you all season long, and the near misses, the crashes from the lead like in Martinsville, that was a gut-wrenching one, I know. For all come to this, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours, Larry. Congratulations on a phenomenal first win, and hopefully many more to come.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate that. This definitely soaking this one in. This feels great. So yeah, I mean, I got to thank all the folks at Winstel. They put a ton of work into this league. They run a tight ship. They do a really good job, and I mean, the top 7, 8 guys on a weekly basis they're so good, and you don't have to worry about them doing anything stupid or, being weapons. And that was part of the reason I was able to do what I did at the end. I don't have to worry about Tyler sliding up and killing us both, or, doing something erratic. I know he's going to race fair and clean, and as long as I stay in my line, we've got a shot at it. So, I mean, big thanks to all those guys, all the regulars at Winstel. That's about it. The drill aisle, 3-unit, as well as, I guess, if anybody's interested, I've got an Instagram. It's 50.sportsman. It's my late model deal I'm doing in real life, if anybody wants to check it out. And thank you to you as well for doing these broadcasts. Can't wait to watch it back.
It's going to be a fun one to watch back, especially the very ending of the final 14 laps where the Joss theme in Motorsport tune. Larry, enjoy the race win. Obviously an emphatic one, a well-earned one. Obviously, we saw the congratulations there at the end from all the drivers there. Absolutely well-earned. Enjoy it, and we'll be seeing you again, hopefully, for even more at Phoenix.
Thanks very much. Have a wonderful night. Take care.
Thank you. That was Larry Pace, an outstanding and well-earned race win for the number 98 team. You see the side-by-side there. This was, I believe, coming to about a few laps to go there. This is when the battle really begun. We've been kind of going back and forth through the overlay here to sort of bring it all to fruition. Let's go ahead one more time, and we're going to go and look at the final couple laps here, because this was an absolute masterclass in this race. And you can't ask for a lot better than this. This is everything that it looked like going through. This is coming to 2 laps to go. And again, we'll pull up the ticker. Race is over. Just so you can kind of see what we were looking at here. Side by side, 2 rows. Nick Doucette, Dylan Roberts, they were in the mix. 17 of Christian Budd trying to hold on older tires. Brandon McKissick trying to drive his way through. This is 2 laps to go. And from here, we get a 3-wide finish with 5 cars within a 10th. You see that Doucette gets a little loose behind Roberts. Since the inside lane, he had been trying to telegraph this all night long. He'd been trying to telegraph either an outside lane 3-wide or an inside lane 3-wide. He had been telegraphing something different all night long. White flag in the air that time. And just outstanding. Start to finish. 3-wide here. Out of turn 2. Doucette doesn't have a lot of help here. He's kind of on his own. He's got to try it again out of 4. Larry Pace just doing his thing. Almost gets put in the middle 3-wide here. That would have been a disaster for both Roberts and Larry Pace. Roberts realizing at this point that he's probably just got to help the 98 there and just minimize the damage. And I am surprised. If we can go back and look at this, I am very surprised that Doucette did not grab 3rd there. I know he got loose, but I'm just very surprised. That was the margin of victory. That was the margin of difference there. And Doucette, just a little late, and already losing traction. He spins here, as you can see, as we go through it. Just spins and loses traction, goes into the grass. The thinnest of margins, grip and adhesion, the difference throughout the entire top 5 here tonight. And again, outstanding start to finish. Points as they run. Let's see if we can pull that up real quick, since that is going to be very important. Unofficial points as they run. Tyler Head level on points with Christian Budd. That is how close it is. That is what this fighting means. Dylan Roberts lost a little bit there, finishing in 3rd to Tyler Head. 30 points adrift, but he gains overall. He was 45 points back entering. He's 30 points back on the lead of the championship with 3 races to go. Very manageable. Also manageable for Nick Doucette. He closes in a little bit here in 4th. Gabriel Mauricio loses a little bit of ground, loses 6 points. Not the end of the world for the 40 car, but a lot of work to do with 3 races to go, and the races that don't really fit the 40 cars mold there, especially going into Phoenix next week. Emily Howe almost eliminated here. Both her and Alexander almost a full race out here. Jose Solis Jr., his bad race really hurt him, really set him back a lot there as far as trying to make progress on and getting into that championship conversation. Remember, he only finished 15th tonight. he's going to need some magic to take place both at Phoenix and at Darlington just to have a shot going in to Homestead for the final race of the season. Brendan McGee and Sean Peleg, it has been the no good, very bad adventures of the chase for the Winstel Cup for them. Sean Peleg involved in the first caution of the race, ended up 4 laps down and down in the 30th position. But that's the points as they run for the chase for the Winstel Cup in 2024. We appreciate you being with us here for the Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500 from Atlanta. 3 races to go. We hope you join us for each race. Phoenix next Sunday. Darlington after that. October 13th, the finale at Homestead, Miami Speedway. On behalf of everyone here for the Winstel Cup Series, for ABN Studios, for ABN Esports 1, I'm a very ill Carmen Sienna. Thank you all so much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Enjoy your week ahead. We'll see you tomorrow night right here on ABN Esports 1 for HTL Cup Series action. So long, everybody.